Clippers versus Nuggets. Who's going to win? This series is going to be so interesting. I've been saying this Clippers team shouldn't be a sleeper because on paper and even how they've been playing the last month of the season, they're playing like a top tier team. It's funny because we have a couple of lower seed teams like the Clippers, like the Warriors. I think the Warriors are favored in the series, and rightfully so in my opinion, but we'll talk about that in another video. But we have some lower seeded teams in the Western Conference who might technically actually be the better team. Listen, you got Nikola Jokic on the Nuggets. You can never count them out, okay? That man knows how to put on a show. 60-point triple-double, no problem. Zubac and Norman Powell are going to be two keys for the Clippers to win this series. As long as everybody plays up to their potential, I think the Clippers win this series. Let's start with Zubac. The only reason I have question marks about him is not due to his play. I just have to wonder, is he going to be in foul trouble because of Jokic? That is the question I'm going to have. Now, I do think the Clippers can still win even if Zubac is in foul trouble, but that'll make it 10 times harder because nobody can guard Jokic then. And the Zubac-Harden connection is something that's really special, and that also is part of what makes the Clippers unique is that combination. Harden is just so good with bigs. So if he is in foul trouble, that's going to take away not only a defender on Jokic, but also an element of uniqueness for the Clippers because he won't be out there. So that is something where I think the series could extend a little longer if that happens. Now let's talk about Norman Powell. I've been talking about him for a while. Underrated player. He's finally getting the recognition that he deserves. I still wish he had gotten an all-star spot this year. I still think he deserved it, but he can prove in the playoffs why he did deserve it. I'll have to check, but I think he's their leading scorer still at this point. Maybe Harden overtook him, but I think it's still Norman Powell. I just went to look. James Harden overtook him by like 1 point per game. But for basically the entire year, Norman Powell was leading them in scoring. And man, is he clutch. Every time they need someone to bail them out, they need a three, they need something, Norman Powell does not miss. I gotta look up what his stats are when like the Clippers need a basket. I don't even know if that statistic is out there. But if it is, Norman Powell's got to be shooting like 70% in those situations. And if he's going to continue to play the way he's played all year, there's no way that Denver can stop the Clippers or him. I know people have questions about James Harden in the playoffs, and we will see what happens. But my thing that I said about the Clippers a few months ago when I was talking about James Harden's potential, playoff issues was I said with the emergence of Norman Powell, and then Zubac if he's not in foul trouble, but the emergence of Norman Powell being such a steady scorer for them gives them more flexibility if Harden does have some bad games. Sure, you can't replace Harden, right? But Kawhi, we know he's going to do his thing in the playoffs as long as he's healthy. Him being healthy is, a question that we need to see him stay healthy for the playoffs, but we know when he's healthy, he shows up. Like, that's not a question about Kawhi. And so you would say James Harden is, I guess, the second option to Kawhi, right? And let's just say James Harden doesn't have it. At least now they can go to Norman Powell, who will still give them 25-30 if they need to. So even if James Harden is a bit absent in that sense, they still can get scoring elsewhere. Now, if they want to win the championship, James Harden cannot have his playoff issues continue. Like, Norman Powell cannot do the whole thing by himself, right? So, James Harden needs to, not have those playoff issues in order for them to win the championship. But in order to get out of the first round, I think it will be not good if he does that, but they can get out of the first round even still. I think anything more than that, like if James Harden just doesn't play well in the series and Zubac is in foul trouble, everybody else has to play top tier because now your margin for error is really small. I don't think anything else can go wrong, quote unquote, and then the Clippers still win the series. I think they have more margin for error than Denver does. And so that's why I'm like, well, if this happens, they can still win. But anything beyond that, then they're not going to win because then there's too many things going wrong for them, right? Too many mishaps. For Denver, Jokic is going to do his thing, right? Jamal Murray, we know, has shown up in the playoffs, but he's coming off that hamstring injury, and hamstrings are so tricky. And I know he's technically healthy right now, but I'm nervous about his hamstring limiting him in the playoffs. And Michael Porter Jr. is just a little too inconsistent for my taste. And because, again, I said they don't have any margin for error, Michael Porter Jr. has to be on every game, in my opinion, if they want to win. There can be no inconsistency from him. And I'm not trying to put an unfair amount of, blame or pressure on him. But I'm just saying, I feel like because this Clippers team is so well coached, they are so good in the clutch, they have so many options, they execute well. Michael Porter Jr., because again, we know Jokic is going to do his thing. And as long as Jamal Murray's hamstring is not limiting him, I would expect him to also not be inconsistent. Then again, it comes down to Michael Porter Jr. And so, fair or not, if he is going to be inconsistent, I don't think they can win this series. And that is why I say I'm going to pick the Clippers to win, because I feel more comfortable in saying that the Clippers, again, as long as Kawhi is healthy, that is a big stipulation, but as long as Kawhi is healthy, I feel better about the Clippers executing and figuring it out, even if Zubac is in foul trouble, than Michael Porter Jr. potentially having 4, 5, 6 big games in a row. So I'll say Clippers in 6 because I think Jokic can win 2 games by himself. I think Jokic is that good, but I do think the Clippers win in 6.